Now we're going to look at the interior of the car. The interior is in really nice condition. I did auto upholstery work for several years, about 12 or so. Still do it on the side. Did it professionally for about 10 or 12 with a local shop. I made these custom door panels. These are one of a kind. I don't think you'll ever see them on anything else. It's kind of hard to see, but it's a sculpted Firebird in the door panels, both sides. It's pretty neat. It's kind of one of a kind. It gets lots of questions. Everybody wants some just like it. I feel pretty proud about those, and they look really nice in the car. The interior is the original color. It's a camel tan. I also set up the seats. I used new old stock camel tan hobnail. However, it has faded pretty quick. The seats still sit nice. They look great. Instead of using the cloth Lombardi, I decided to use the vinyl, similar to the 80 Pace car. For one thing, it was a lot cheaper, and I figured it would hold up better in the long term. The rear seats are just as nice. Package tray is nice, a little faded but nice. The speaker grills are there, they're unpainted. All the plastic in the car is pretty decent. The console is pretty decent, there's no big cigarette burns. The dash bezel is a brand new restored unit by Randy Combs. You're not going to find too many people that will remachine the bezel. This one has been remachined and tinted gold as original. Looks very nice. All the engine turned is pretty excellent. A lot of people ask why this car does not have the gold steering wheel. In 1980, in November I believe, they switched to a steel spoked wheel, and all the steel spokes got black paint. So this one does not have gold. It is an original wheel. The steering wheel is a little beat. As you can see, there's some cracks in it. It's kind of hard to see here, but it's all the way around the wheel. Nothing's tore, you know, no chunks, no tears, but it's got lots of surface cracks in it. The stereo is the original stereo. Actually, it had an aftermarket when I bought it. This is an original style stereo. It was the electronic digital tuning stereo. I'll turn the engine on, the car on.
Cost of putting your foot down on quality. Thanks to Select Pergo laminate flooring, just $177.
Now you can see that the clock works, all the digital works, but it's showing 10:01 now. Stereo works okay. It's only got 2 speakers in the back and 1 in the front center. Stereo is not that great. It's old school. It sounds old school. It does work though. The windshield wipers are pulse. They have the wash function and the pulse. There's the original turbo gauge. It does light up, although it's not functional because the turbo is long gone, and we'll get to the engine next in the next video. Floor mats are custom ACC mats. Underneath is nice carpet, nothing to hide under there. In the glove box, it has the power trunk, which works. Up on the headliner is a cloth headliner, like you'd find in most modern cars. It does have the map light, and they work. The light switch on the driver's door does not operate the light. The passenger side does. The sun visors are about the only thing on the inside of the car that was not replaced by me. They are what I believe to be the original sun visors. A little bit, they're starting to dry out a little bit. They're not real soft. This one still has all the welt cord on nice. This one, as you can see, is starting to peel apart. The stitches are just dry rotted. The rest of the visor is okay. And the headliner's okay. The rearview mirror is starting to show a little bit of age around the edge. On the inside of the car, the gauges all worked when I bought the car. However, the clock moves. As you can see now, the second hand is moving, but it does not keep time. You can set it and it will lose time pretty quickly, really, over a couple days. The tach works. The temperature gauge works. The oil gauge quit working on me about 2 years ago. Prior to that, it seemed to have had real good pressure. I believe it usually averaged around 60 pounds on the gauge. I believe it to be a grounding problem, probably on the back side of the gauges. I've traced down the wires. There's no cracks or anything in the wire, and the oil sending unit is new. Gauge still does not work, so it may be a grounding problem, maybe a bad gauge. I'm not sure. Speedometer worked, then it quit working. I replaced the speedometer cable. It worked for several years, and then about last year it actually quit working on me again. I assume it's probably a speedometer cable, but I'm not for certain. I've just never changed it. I just use my GPS for my speedometer. The fuel gauge works, the battery gauge works, the cigarette lighter works. The rear window defogger switch actually works. However, the grid in the back window, all the grid lines are scratched, so therefore it does not defog. It will still turn on. It works on a timer. It will click off, but nothing happens on the back glass. So in order to fix that, I guess you'd have to have a new rear window. The dash is in great shape. No big cracks, nothing like that. It's starting to curl up just a little bit where it meets the metal. Right there in front of the driver and right there in front of the passenger. The only area on the dash is a little bitty crack right there, and it's been there since I bought the car. It's never gotten any worse, it's never gotten any bigger, and it's out of the sunlight for the most part, so I don't think there'll be too much of a problem. Not sure what happened. I assume somebody just probably cut it with something. So that's the inside of the car. The rear inside quarter panels are a little beat up just from use over the years. They're scratched. The rest of the panels are all in pretty nice shape. The only plastic parts on the inside of the car that really could use some attention are the T-top end covers. They're starting to get pretty chalky. The U-shaped pieces are in nice shape, but again, all four corners are just in pretty sorry shape. Originally, the car had power locks, cruise control, and it is a loaded car, but the power locks were removed by me because the solenoids were missing inside the doors, and with my custom panels, I didn't feel I wanted to put the switch back in. It does have the wiring to the area where the solenoids would go inside the door, but again, the solenoids and the rods connecting the door lock pull to the solenoids are missing. You might notice this temperature gauge aftermarket down underneath. Several years ago, my temperature gauge went bad, so I replaced the sending unit with an aftermarket Borg-Warner unit, and it started reading about 20 degrees higher than my original gauge did, my original temperature sending unit. So just to be on the safe side, I did some research. Turns out the Borg-Warner aftermarket units often read higher than the original unit. So to be safe, I installed a mechanical temperature gauge. No wires going through the dash or nothing like that. It's just goes through the door jamb and underneath the hood. It can be removed at any time. It's just something for me to feel better about the temperature. Temperature averages about 190. However, the original factory gauge will show about 220. That's the inside of the car, guys.